Today we are going to write equations from a graph. Before we gave you an equation and you had to graph it. And today we are going to give you a graph and you have to tell us the equation. From the graph, you will identify what the y-intercept is, ran out of room. And you will identify the slope. And you will put them in the equation just like this. Here's an example. Our first example is this graph. And we want to identify the y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis? And it looks like it crosses right here at the point -2. So if we had our equation, y equals mx plus b, instead of writing b, we're going to write -2. Alright, then we're going to identify our slope. We need to pick some points that are on the graph. So it looks like there's a point right here. It looks like there's a point right here. Oops. Right here. And maybe right here. Oops. Something's going on with my tablet. Alright, there we go. Okay, we couldn't pick any other random points. Like I couldn't put a point here, hold on, here, because that doesn't cross at one of these grid line marks. Okay, so now let's count our slope. So from this point up to here, I went in the +3 direction and the +2 direction, 3/2. I'm going to try again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it looks like our slope is 3/2. So back to our equation, we're going to write 3/2 where we saw that m. And we'll just fill in our y and x. And bam, you have an equation. Y equals 3/2x minus 2. Great job. Let's try another one. Alright, here's another graph. So the first step, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. And then I'm going to look, where does the graph cross the y-axis? And it crosses right here at the origin at 0. So for b, I'm going to write 0. Then I'm going to look for points on the graph. I see one here. I see one here, here. All of these cross at what we call an intersection of the grid, like there. They are all the way down. You don't have to find this many points. You only need 2. But more points helps us know that our answer is right. So let's count our slope. 1/1. So here I'm going to put 1/1x. Y equals 1/1x plus 0. If you picked some other point, it would work out exactly the same. For example, if you picked this point and this point, 2/2, that slope still reduces to 1. So you still did it right. So we don't actually need to write 1x. We could just say x, and we don't need to write 0. So our answer is y equals x. That's an equation you're going to see a lot. Let's go to another example. Okay, here I see a horizontal line. And we talked about that the horizontal lines, the slope is 0. So I'm going to put a 0 in for m. And then where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses it right here at -4. So I'm going to write -4 in there for my equation. And since we have 0 x's, we don't have to write x. So this is the equation, y equals -4. And anytime you have a horizontal line as your equation, it's just going to be y equals that number where it crosses the axis. You won't have any x because the slope is 0. Let's try another example. What if the line is a vertical line? I don't know if you can find the line. It's over here. Okay? So where is that line located? Let's check this out. Y equals mx plus b. Oops. where does it cross the y-axis? This guy over here. Do they cross? No, they're parallel. So this is not going to work out for a function. It's not a function. So what it is, anytime when we talked about that was an undefined slope, a vertical line, and it crosses here at -5. So whenever it's a vertical line, it's always going to be x equals that number, and that number is -5. So if the line was here, that would be x equals 3.2 or something like that. If the line was here, x equals -1. If the line was here, x equals -4. So our answer here is just x equals -5. Let's try one more example. Okay. So again, we're looking for y equals mx plus b. Where does this equation cross the y-axis? Right, it looks like it crosses the y-axis right here at 4. So I'm going to put +4. Now let's identify some points on our graph. Here's a point, here's one, here's one, here's one. Any of those points will do, as long as it's crossing at this intersection. Now let's count the slope. So to go from this point this way, that's plus, here that color's not working out. Let's try blue. Okay. To go from here to here, that's +1, and to go down, that's -2. So our slope then would be 1 over -2. Let's change colors again. I don't like that one. Maybe this. Okay, so what if you went the opposite way? What if you went, what if you went rise 2 and then -1? So that slope would be 2 over -1. Oh, we did the first one wrong, didn't we? I'm so glad we checked, because remember that slope is rise over run. Can you figure out which slope we did wrong? This one, because our rise was -2. So this guy needs to be -2 over +1. It's really easy to mess it up, so it's great that you check. So our slope, either way you do it, reduces to -2. Even if you picked some really random points here, let me get rid of some of this extra on our graph here. Just a lot going on. Okay, even if you picked, let's say you picked this point and this point, you're still going to get the same answer, because rise 4, run -2. Okay, so that slope is going to be 4 over -2, and that still reduces to -2. So for the slope, I'm going to put -2. So y equals -2x plus 4. All right, now you try a few problems on your own. Pause the video and try these 4 problems. All right, number 1. The y-intercept was at 0, so we have y equals something x plus 0. Now, let's identify some points. Looks like here's a good one and here's a good one. There are no other points that I see on that line that we could use. So, let's count. Up 3, left 2. So our slope is going to be -3 over 2. So let's write that in. -3 over 2. And remember that negative sign could be with a 3 or it could be with a 2, just not both. So our answer is y equals -3 over 2x. You don't need to write the +0, so we could just write y equals -3 over 2x. Great job. Number 2. This is a horizontal line, and we talked briefly earlier that any horizontal line will be the answer y equals, and then the intercept is 2. So y equals 2 is your answer. And if you check any point on that line, the y's are always going to be 2. Like this is the point 1, 2. This is the point 2, 2. The point 3, 2. All of them are going to have 2 as their y. Number 3. crosses the y-axis at 2. So this is y equals something plus 2. Next, I look for my points. So, this one's a little bit more difficult to identify points. I think this is the only spot right here that there's a point because it crosses at that intersection. There's nowhere else on this whole line that crosses at any intersection. Like, we can't put a point here because that doesn't cross at the intersection. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We went 4 in the positive direction and 3 in the positive direction. So our slope is 4 over 3. So I'll put that in where m goes. Y equals 4 over 3x plus 2. Great job. Last one. Our y-intercept looks like it's right down here at negative 3. So I'm going to put negative 3 where b goes, and then I will look for point on the line. And it looks like there's a point right there. You see that one? I don't see any other points on the line that cross at the grid intersections. Now I'm going to count my slope. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the positive direction, and then 1 in the negative direction. So my slope is 6 over negative 1. Now if you counted from the other 2 points, that's totally okay, because then you would go 6 in the negative direction and 1 in the positive direction, and you would still get the same slope. The slope is negative 6 over 1, and that's still, the slope is negative 6. So I'm going to plug in negative 6 where m goes. So my final answer here is y equals negative 6x minus 3. If you have any questions about this, bring it to class tomorrow. See ya.